Welcome back to the Copado Architect Corner. Today we're talking about source-driven development, efficiently moving changes at different speeds. So today we're talking about having different development going on. You could have development going on in one sandbox, let's call it Developer A, and then you could be having work done in a different developer box, Developer B, and let's assume the Developer A is moving changes through the pipeline. They're moving up from dev to int on their way forward. But then Developer B comes along and they're working on something and it can move quicker through the pipeline. So B can come up, join the environment where A is already at and actually pass it. Now, if you were doing org-driven development, then what that means is what the contents of your Salesforce org are the record of truth. And in that case, when the work product of A is in a, let's say, an int box and B comes in, they're now blended. So in org-driven development, your assets are blended. And what I mean is your object definition will have, let's say, fields, page layouts could be changed. And if for some reason you wanted B to continue forward without A, you're going to have to unblend those assets. And when you're doing source-driven development, that can really help you versus org-driven development. Because with source-driven development, your get repo can have different branches. And in Copado, we would call those feature branches. So you could have a feature branch for the work product of A. You could have a feature branch for the work product of B, and they could both make it to an int. And so both those feature branches could be merged, but the essence of each feature branch could be kept separate. So if you were to choose to send B forward without A, let's assume that they're both in like a QA environment and something's found wrong with A and it is not ready to promote. But you need to promote B because it's made it. It got signed off. It's ready to move forward. Then you're going to have a challenge because you're going to have to unravel if they collided on the same metadata. It would be easy if they made different changes. But if they collide on the same metadata, you're going to have to unravel that. Now, the power of source-driven development, especially with Copado, is we can show you how to manage that really easy. I'm going to build an example of a field change on the same object, on the opportunity object. I'm going to create a field in A, move it forward, and a field on B, called B, move it forward. And we're going to watch where they're going to blend, how we can have B move on without A. Let's take a look at this. So here is when you create a Copado playground, we actually will create multiple environments simultaneously to more accurately create a realistic environment. In this case, we have Dev 1, we have Dev 2, we have an integration branch, a hotfix going to production, and a UAT going to production. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a status A field in Dev 1, we're going to create a status B field in Dev 2, and we're going to create that scenario where Dev 1 moves into int, then Dev 2 moves into int and forward. So what we can do right now is I can go to a user story. And the first step typically is you're going to start with a user story. I'm going to give it the bare minimum. You should be doing more in your actual work. But in my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be giving you the field bare minimum fields necessary. So I'm going to call it opportunity status A. And first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick your project. This is just in the trial. Typically, you'd also give it the epic, the theme, other features. I'm just going to hit save. Now, this has created a new user story for status A. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, and the first thing I do is I go to build and I'm going to choose which credential, which environment I'm working in. So in this case, I'm going to go into Dev 1. And so I'm telling Copado which environment the work's going to proceed. So now the work is happening in Dev 1, and there's a really neat thing where I can go open org, and I can press this button. It'll use the Copado credential to open that org. Typically, you just log in directly into your sandbox using your developer credentials, but this is a quick one if you want to go in using the Copado credential. So what we have here is Copado is taking the credential that's been used in the setup and allowing me to open and bring me in to that sandbox. So now I'm in this sandbox, and I can see that because I have a shorter name in my primary org. I was the Copado trial. in this Dev1 sandbox, you'll see that I have Enterprise Dream. So it's a different sandbox. This is a scratch org. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Setup. I'm going to go to my Object Manager. I'm going to go to Opportunity. And from here, I'm going to create a status A field. We'll just make it a simple field, textual. It's just for illustration purposes. So I'm going to hit New, and I'm just going to make it a text. Typically, a status most likely would be like a pick list, global pick list. So in this case, I'm going to go status A. Let's say I give it a 50-character status. This is all. Make sure you follow your proper designs, adding the description, the help text. And I hit next. Now here is something the key that's happening. One, we have field level security. We're going to make sure that sysadmin has this. Next, we're going to add it to the opportunity layout. This way it's already on the layout, and I'm going to go hit save. So now what I've done is I've created this opportunity, this status A field, and I would go back to my governance org. Here's the user story. And what we're going to do is I'm going to do the commit changes. So this is how I, in my governance org, can quickly identify those changes and associate them with the git commit. And so Copado will do this for me. And so all I got to do is go to the commit page. So here is the screen for this new commit. What I can do is I can go back about 15 minutes and check this for changes. So what's happening is Copado is able to reach in to my dev org and see the changes. And so now we get to see that I want to include the status A, but I did add it to the layout, and I did add it to the admin profile, which is necessary. So from here, with just a few clicks, then I can go commit changes. This will let it be the commit message. These are advanced features, recreating the feature branch, and I just go commit. So this is a really easy way of either a professional developer, Apex coder, or a configurator can come, low code, pro code, can come in here and quickly add their changes. Now, a really neat thing you can do is from here, you can watch what's happening. So what's happening right now is Copado is going out, getting the changes. It's going to create those and retrieve the metadata and actually go write this to my Git repo. So it's going to create the proper changes in the Git repo for this, doing all for me with just a few clicks. So there's my success, and all is looking good. So it's moved forward. It's got the commit, it has the get commit built. And there's a really neat feature where doesn't have any test code coverage. I can go to deliver, and there's a really quick way to just go promote and deploy and hit save. So now what's happening is I have triggered Copado to push this change forward into the next environment. And so this is really that easy, checking a box. And from here, you see it's starting in Dev1, and in a matter of minutes, it's going to make its way to the int environment. While we wait for this, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go create the second user story. So this is Developer 2. So I'm going to go to User Stories, and we're going to go New, User Story. And we're going to go Opportunity, Status B. So we're going to add it to the same project, save. So this is a second developer in a second environment. So I'm going to go to build, and I'm going to pick a different credential. This is going to be dev 2. So I'm going to hit save. And what's going to happen is now I'm developer 2 who wants to make their change, creating the status B on the opportunity. And so what I can do is I can do the same thing where I can do open org because I flagged this credential. Typically, I could go straight into it. This is going to then open org dev 2 for the second developer. We're going to allow this to happen. It's just asking if I have access to open my Scratch org. Now I'm in Platform Java, which is a different Scratch org. This is the Developer 2 environment. I'm going to go to Setup. And then what I'm going to do right here is Object Manager. I'm going to go to the Opportunity object. So here's Opportunity. And then I'm going to go to field, and I'm going to create this reciprocal one called status. Let's go new. This is text. We're going to go status B. 50 characters. Next. Now we are starting in a different environment. We're going to be making changes to the profiles and the page layout. So we're going to get save. So this is in platform Java, which is developer B. Now what we're going to be is right here. This is developer 2. And in the same way in which we need to do commit changes. So I need to identify those changes as the developer in the governance org. I can go right here, just go back a few minutes, get the changes. I'm going to change the admin profile, the opportunity layout, and status B. I can go ahead right here and say commit changes and go from there. So now what's going to happen is in the same way with before, it's going to go ahead and commit these changes. And I'll just skip ahead while it's committing. So you'll see Copado behind the scenes is doing the get repo. Doesn't see any test records because there's no Apex coverage. And now I can go back to the user story for 2. And now what I can do is I want to deliver this one. So I can go use the easy button, promote and deploy, and hit save. Now what's going to happen is dev 2 is going to start to migrate forward. So what's happened is dev 1, let's refresh here. So dev 1 has made it into the integration environment. And we can actually see that. So dev 1 has moved to the integration. We're going to open the org. Because I've now in integration, I should be able to see this. And now I'm in data speed, which is a new sandbox. And what we have right here is if I go to here, I'm in my setup, and I'm going to go to opportunity. And we're going to go look at the custom fields. And you'll see that status A has made it. So I'm in my int environment and status A has made it. Now, what's happening right now is dev 1 has migrated to int, and then I triggered dev 2 to migrate to int. So in a moment, with just a refresh, I should be able to see the work product of dev 2. And they will be blended together into the int environment. Now, what I'll also notice that each of these will be one behind because dev 1 doesn't have the work product from dev 2, and dev 2 doesn't have the work product from dev 1. So we'll actually see those as 2 flagged back deploys. And if I refresh the pipeline, this is still working there. This has made it. You'll see this is what's happening. Dev 1 went to int. Dev 2 went to int. They each have a pending back deploy. And now what I've got is they're in int. And now if I come back to my int environment, and we're going to refresh. So here, status speed, which is our int environment, and I'm going to refresh. You'll notice it has status A. And now it should have status A and status B. Now here is our challenge. We have just blended this together at the page layout level. So we're going to take a look at the profile. We're going to see that the system administrator profile, and we come in here to field level security on opportunity. And we come here, we see that the profile has both status A and status B. So this profile has been blended together to include the changes to A and B. Now what we want to do is we want to be able to deploy one of these, but not both of these. So therefore we want to deploy B without deploying A. And so right now they are both together in the same environment. And we can go to the pipeline manager and they're both sitting there. Now what I can do is in Copado, I can go to one of the user stories. Here is the user story for A. And here is the user story for B. I'm going to refresh B. And what I can do is I can choose one of these to move forward. So I can go promote and deploy to B. And here is the power of source-driven development is I can choose just one of them to send through the environment. So what I'm going to be doing is taking one of the two user stories, which are blended in the int environment, and I can choose to migrate it forward. And so from here, I've created a promotion, a second promotion, and we can watch this happen. So we're going to watch an actual promotion happen. So this is going from int to UAT. It's triggering a promote. This is mean it's going to do its paperwork and pull out the branch. Then it's going to trigger it into Salesforce. So there's the SF deploy, and it's actually going to, here you can watch it as it in real time, it's actually triggering the live deployment, and there it goes. So what we've done is we've had A go into the int first, B quickly follow, and now B can move forward and leave A behind. And this allows you to selectively deploy specific assets. So we're going to watch when we're going to get this deployment. And it's success. Now I can go back to my user stories. Right now, only one. In this case, I sent one. I could have sent multiple. So now what I can do is I can open the org, which will then open UAT. And so I'm now going into UAT, which where I've deployed, and I should see B only, not A. And so I go to setup. And I can go to the object manager, opportunity. And we go to the fields, and you're going to see status B. There it is. I can go to setup. I can go to profiles, and you'll see that that made it through. And you'll notice that on the system administrator admin profile, the status B deployed along. So I deployed not just the field, but also the status B.